comment says, girl, I don't disagree with you on everything, but this is exhausting. You just hate men. It isn't us against them. Call them out for their blind spots and encourage them to improve, but we will never get anywhere by telling half the population they are inherently the problem. I watch all of your videos because you often do make good points, but not everything you think is true just because it confirms the internal consistency of your worldview. Like, I'm scared you hate men so much that one day you're just going to go full turf. Don't forget there are women like J.K. Rowling who don't give a shit about women in Gaza, as well as Ghislaine Maxwell, Christy Gnomes, and Pam Bondi's. Women can also be the problem. Oops, why did I like that comment? And there are many good men who are valuable allies. Okay. So hear me out, Habibis, right? When I'm talking about systems of power and you name 5 women compared to the 99% of men who have upheld power and kept us away from it, this is what I'm saying. You're not serious, right? You think I'm going to be anti-trans one day because I'm asking patriarchy to hold itself accountable and the men that maintain it? Do you know what I'm saying? When I literally made it clear that we're talking about men as a system, you know what I mean? When people say, oh, I watch all your videos. How then? How do you watch all my videos and still not get what I'm saying? Because introspection, deconstruction is hard. You know what I mean? It is hard. And I'm saying you have to understand who you're viewing. You have to understand what I'm saying, right? So somebody in my comment said women are the problem. I get it if you've deflected. Okay, so this comment did get updated though, because apparently there was a typo in the original comment. So shout out to my viewers for having conversations. But I just want to, this person said, so fair correction. Okay, I don't think women are the problem. I mean, women can also be the problem and reinforce patriarchy. That's what I want you to pay attention to. The patriarchy is the problem, not men or women. That's like saying white supremacy is the problem, not white people. Yes, you think it sounds like something, but it isn't. That's like saying white supremacy is the problem, not the Ku Klux Klan. Right? Like, no, the Ku Klux Klan is also a problem. You know what I mean? Like, it's also a problem. So it's not individuals who happen to be white that are the problem. It's individuals who happen to be white who uphold white supremacy and reinforce it at every turn to benefit themselves. Okay? It's not every man is the problem, because I don't even think those things are real. Race is not real. Gender is not real. It's a construct created by observation. So when we make the observation and we attach a learned behavior to the observation, and then we make a prescription that the observation must now be a way of life, it no longer becomes an observation without consequence. It becomes an observation with dire consequences that we reinforce in children. And men as a system are reinforcing that every day. And so are you with these comments. When you say women are also a problem and you name absolutely just individual women instead of power structures, that's the problem. Patriarchy is a structure. It's a structure, okay? And men made it, create it, maintain it, and women work at the bottom of it. And you're saying, so imagine, let me draw you a picture, okay? Imagine that patriarchy was a tower, okay? Okay, this is the top, this is the bottom, and women are here. Okay, we're going super binary for the sake of this conversation. Okay, this is men, okay? And men are in charge of all of this, okay? And women are here. And you're saying, okay, patriarchy is the problem and women are also the problem. And I'm saying men are in charge of this much impact of the tower and women control this much. Who is more at fault or more responsible? Obviously the people with more power. Okay? This sounds like conservatives when they go, well, you know, parents shouldn't hit their kids, but the child was being very bratty. Okay, who's more accountable? The 5-year-old who's being bratty or the 45-year-old man who slapped his hand against the child's bottom? Okay, it's not because women are children, by the way. Different power structure. You have, see, I just made that example. Now I know misogynist. So you'll be like, are you saying women are like children? Women are not like children. We're talking about power. Do you know what I'm saying? We're talking about power. We're talking about people who engage and try to. So, okay, here's what happens. So there's women like J.K. Rowling or Pam Bondi who exist here, and they go, damn it, how do I get here? Okay, how do I rise up on the tower, right? And so what they do is one of the men from the tower marry one of the girls from the tower and or give them jobs. Something happens and they create some sort of a community or a connection. But the man is still primarily the color you see, even though they're both there. And I'm saying that's fucked and that's patriarchy. But the men who are willing to step in front of those women to be the louder voices will always throw those women under the bus. So at most, the women exist kind of like this. Do you see the little bit of green in this power structure of red? And I'm saying you're blaming the green like it's equal to the red. And I'm saying we're all responsible, but the red is dominant. And the red will never allow the green to have more of a say. And this works with white supremacy, patriarchy, and capitalism. All three work the same exact way. White people will never let black people be more or even dominant. Okay. Capitalism will never let the people have a say in their economy. Okay. So it's the same. And I'm saying that's the problem. And this is because they believe in inherent, this is like when men will say, I don't care about the race or gender of my video game characters until the video game character is like a black woman. Then all of a sudden they seem to care. Okay. They'll say, it doesn't matter that there's never been a woman president until a woman runs for the presidency and they go, oh, women can't be president. They have periods. Oh, so it does matter. They'll say, we would elect a black man if he was good enough. If he was just a good black person, we'd vote for them. Look, Barack Obama won. By one black guy in the history of the whole United States. And you guys act like, oh, we've had a ton of black presidents. Oh my God, so many. And that's because to them, right, something that looks equal looks more like oppression. When the oppressor is in any way challenged for power, it's now oppressive. That's why they say white men are the most oppressive group, right? Okay. So again, when we have these conversations, I'm saying this commenter and people are acting like I'm sitting here saying something like all men or all individuals who happen to be men, all individuals who happen to be men have more work to do to deconstruct patriarchy, just like all white people have a harder road to deconstruct racism. Okay? Not just that, guys, but the type of white you are can change things. But anti-blackness is a global phenomenon. Patriarchy is a global phenomenon. Okay? I mean, look what's happening in terms of governments, right? In terms of governments, what's happening? A lot of men are making deals, i.e. capitalism, to throw other countries under the bus in order to make capital in the world in order to be one of the superpowers. We're watching men play right in our faces. And women are not invited to those rooms. And if they are, they have to be women who still will let the men lead. So the women don't hold the power. Bringing up a few powerful women in this hierarchy doesn't matter because the women aren't engaging in equitable patriarchy. They're still engaging in patriarchy. This is why the roast of Kevin Hart was so offensive to black communities, because they felt like Kevin Hart was trying to appeal to white people in order to sit at the same table as them, even though given the jokes they said about him as a black man, it was clear they were never going to see him as equal. Kevin Hart is so short, they're going to have to hang him from a bonsai tree? So minorities, what they end up doing is convincing themselves if they just play the games, if they just, laugh at the racist jokes, if they just laugh at the misogyny jokes, eventually they'll be free enough at the top to exist. But black millionaires have reported racism doesn't get easier at the top. I mean, it gets easier in the terms that I can pay my bills, but black millionaires have reported the racism doesn't stop at the top. It's just as racist, if not more. Because now we have people in positions of power being racist versus the guy at the gas station. It's a different type of power, power. Your neighbor being racist, a billionaire being racist, a government entity being racist, right? So when we have these conversations, okay, we have to take that all into consideration. And again, it depends on what the intersection, where are you in a room, okay? Chet says white men are far more powerful than black men and Latino men. Yeah, but what if that singular white woman was put into a room of men? All men. Would you, in a group of strange men, would you give them your baby daughter to babysit? Would you trust them? What about your teenage daughter? What about your mother? What about your grandma? You know? So you can talk about it all day. But the truth is if you're a man in a group of women, you're not going to be hurt, bro. If you're in a group full of men, maybe, but you'll probably, blend. But if you're a girl in a group of men, you're fucked. You are basically dead. Or you don't fight back, and maybe if you're quiet enough, they don't kill you. You know? So again, when we have these conversations, yes, politically, white women have absolutely weaponized white supremacy against Black people. What we're talking about is the individual reality mixed in with the political reality. White women are still subject to patriarchy. Okay? It's true. White women are still subject to patriarchy. And often in these circles, a lot of men of all types will absolutely engage with white women as a connection to white supremacy, and then they'll use them and abuse them, like all men do. And the women are still just victims of patriarchy. Because women will say, oh, I'll date the nerdy guy. I'll date the man of color. I'll date the religious guy. I'll date the atheist guy. I'll date the guy who's rebellious against the system, and they're still patriarchally abused because these men are deconstructing. All they see this woman as is the closest thing adjacent to white supremacy. So they get with, what do they call white women? Snow bunnies. They get with white women, okay, throw Black women under the bus to get closest to white women. And the white women still, okay, even though they have some power, that's true, they still engage in being treated as an object to get ahead. Okay? Chad said, I would argue white women uphold white supremacy because of patriarchy, 100%. White women often uphold white supremacy because of patriarchy, but some white women are just racist, right? So some women are just like violently racist, some white women, 100% true. Many white women, depending on who you're talking about, are also just, like I said, trying to survive in patriarchy. And the only people that are willing to marry them and value them in that structural hierarchy will be other white men. But this is like the kind of women who are trying to survive capitalism. You can't survive capitalism by marrying a man. I'm sorry, you can't survive patriarchy by marrying a man. Marrying a man to fight patriarchy will never work. Marrying a man you're in love with who's deconstructed patriarchy, great. But women can't sleep their way to the top, contrary to popular belief. In patriarchy, women, say it with me, cannot sleep their way to the top. Because there is no top where women are allowed. Guys, women will never be at the top of the hierarchy of patriarchy. They will always be just below it. Even if it looks like they're at the top, they're only there under the construct or only because a man is there. Okay? If the man is not there, the woman is way back down again. If the minorities don't play games, if Kevin Hart doesn't let white men make racist jokes towards him, he will be back at the bottom. That's not freedom or liberation or power. That's not what that is. You know what I mean? It's a faux power. It's a trick of power. It's to convince you have power. Like the embarrassed millionaire Kentucky white guy who thinks I'm making minimum wage, right? One day I'll be a millionaire. No. Like the billionaires will never allow you to be. You will never be in the same room as these people. But they tell you, oh, one day you'll be invited. Right? Okay. Now, does anybody have a problem with what I'm saying, or you think I'm saying something I'm not saying? Obviously, let me know. Because again, okay, it's not always and always. If you watch Kimberly Crenshaw explain intersectionality, which we just watched, it's depending on the situation. Everything has to depend on the social situation. Okay. Otherwise, it's never one-to-one. You can't say always this happens. It's not always. It depends. So what am I saying that you might have questions about? Okay, let me see. Let me scroll up. Okay, let's see. Let me see. We're going to talk about Cyrus's death. We're going to talk about Cyrus's murder that's coming up. The white men will turn their heads to the abuse of women if the man of color is still useful to them. Or white men will pretend they care about their women if a black man gets involved, which is why black men can die when engaging with white women. But the white men are doing it because they're racist, not because they care about the women. Do you know what I'm saying? The white men aren't protecting the women. They're hating the black man. So that's the other layer of it that I think is important, right? White mothers would call their sons the N-word. Yeah, we just saw that on stream. We watched that on stream the other day. There are really racist people having black babies every day, having kids who are mixed every day. Absolutely true. That's real too. Yeah. Right? Chet says the way Brittany speaks does seem to throw all men under the bus. That won't stop patriarchy. The only way to stop patriarchy is to convince those in power. Oh, to those in power to give up their power. Okay. Yeah, I'll work on that right now. I'm sure they're super going to be interested in what I have to say. But you know what would help those men of power be dismantled is if every man deconstructed patriarchy and we became powerful as a collective and we actually did it. But you won't, will you? Because you want to be powerful too. And you will throw women under the bus in order to seek that power from men who will never give it to you. So sure, I'll get on that right away. Let me go tweet Trump tomorrow. I'm sure he'll really care. Do you know what I'm saying? You say it sounds like Brady's throwing all the men under the bus, but you guys are doing that every day to everybody else. I'm saying, how dare you tell me to look at power and say, hey, can you like not? When you won't even back me up when I do it. Instead, everybody's in my comments dragging me for trying to hold a man accountable in any capacity. So again, like, okay, I'll get on that tomorrow, right away, right when I wake up, before I even have my coffee, right? Just said white women have more structural power over POC. Oh, wait, but POC, men of power? Oh, men of color. But men of color are still physically stronger than them and have more power in relationships. It's very, I would say it's very contextual. I'd be very careful here and just say all of us need to be very open to contextual realities, changing the narratives. So it depends on the situation. It depends on how it is. It depends on the people involved, right? So again, I would be very careful here about the way we're having these conversations because it really depends on the circumstance. It's never black and white. It's never always. Okay? So again, white women can have structural power. They can also weaponize it against black people. Black men can have power through patriarchy over white women. It just depends on the structure. Okay? Example. This is my favorite example to use. If you have, let me draw a picture. Okay, here's a good example. Let me draw a picture. Okay, because circumstances change everything, guys. You have to remember that, okay? If you have a group of men, okay, all men, okay, a group of dudes, they're all hanging out, they're joking, ha, 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 ha. And you have a new guy in the group and he wants to join the group, but he's gay. Okay, he's like, hey guys, I'm gay. Can I join your group? And they're like, absolutely not. You're a, you're absolutely not. You're a F slur. Okay, right? Okay. And then one of the guys they don't realize is also gay. So now this gay guy has to make a decision. Is he going to stand up for this gay guy? Or is he going to stay in the closet to appeal to, okay, these people here? Right? I didn't spell F-A-G, guys. I made it a star. I made it a star. Do you see? I made it a star. Okay. It's Pride Month. Okay. It's Pride Month. Listen. Okay. I made it a star. Anyways. Okay. This guy has to make a decision in this moment. Now he could betray the group and come over here with the other gay guy, but now they're going to turn on him. Or he could be like, yeah, slur, loser, you sleep with men, gross. Ugh, gross. You kiss boys, gross, right? Okay. This is the situation we're all in always, except there's another option. The gay guy is going to form his own group over here. And they're going to have so much fun, they're going to make a parade. And then these guys over here be like, wait, I want a fucking parade. Wait, can I come to your parade? And we're like, no, because you were mean to us before. They're like, fine, we're going to make our own parade. A parade sounds fun. And it's no longer gay because I want to do it. But when they do it, it's gay. But when I do it, it's straight. I'm going to make a straight parade. Okay? Minorities do this time and time again. They're kicked out of opportunity. They're not given access. We make life amazing. And then the people who oppress us are like, hey, your life looks amazing. I want to be amazing too. And I'm like, you said you don't want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? No. You said you didn't want to come chill with us. Oh, you want to chill with us now? And then what they do, oh, this is the worst part. They come and join the gay parade. So then the gays go, okay, you can come. This will be fun. Allies. And then all of a sudden, all the guys on the parade float are straight and the gay guys are erased. What the fuck? You know that? You notice that happens? Minority communities create an amazing thing. And then the people who oppress them come in and go, we're allies. And then all of a sudden, the event that was supposed to be for this group has now become a group for the allies. What the fuck happened? And it happens every time. This is the cycle. This is why people gatekeep. This is why people say, you can't come. This is why people gatekeep. Because you come in and it is, and you know this is true. Yeah, Chad said this is why FD closed the cookout. This is why FD closed the cookout. Because he said absolutely not. And this is why women, okay, are saying, we know what this is. We know exactly what it is to have a man go like, hey guys, I'm like definitely on your side. I support you. Trust me. I'm the one. Because then you get this happening. Let me bring it up. Give me a second. Okay. Let me bring it up for you. Okay. Then you get Ashley St. Clair, who you know I've criticized heavily. Okay. Showing up on a podcast, being asked this. Okay. This is the Ravenna report. Being asked this.
Yeah, I noticed that I watched your stream with Hasan. I
don't know what happened to me. Like my brain fell out of my head. I was like, tee hee hee.
Well, that is something that, I wouldn't put it exactly in that way, but something that I did take note of a bit is that there were moments where you have this grand story that is such a unique perspective and one that is, to many people, very important right now from multiple different perspectives. There were moments where very quickly you were objectified and sexualized a little bit.
No. He fucking tweets about me all the time, which at first it was
Same.
like, for you it makes sense. You guys, you guys had sex, so. Did you not? Wait, is that not? Wait, I jokingly said he mailed his cum in a napkin.
Don't say that. That is so gross.
But like what?
Hasan.
Okay, well.
Where's the spray bottle?
Okay, I apologize.
Is your mother watching this?
So he didn't mail.
Don't.
He didn't mail it?
No,
Okay.
there's no mailing, Hasan.
Okay. So
That's really gross.
anyway, the point I was making.
And you laughed through it and you were a good sport. I do wonder though, I feel that many women know.
Exact Chat says she fell into old patterns and he absolutely was wrong regardless. So the woman just left conservatism, right? So she's going to engage in patriarchal heterosexual dynamics. Hasan is supposed to be the guy on the left. Why is he engaging in them? That's why there's a problem here. I expect newly left conservatives to keep engaging. This is why I'm saying don't uplift this woman yet. She hasn't done the work, right? Because she's still going to be in her old habits. She's not ready yet. But Hasan, he's apparently the left guy, right? He's the radical guy. So why isn't he treating her with dignity? Why is he talking to her this way? Because I think she's reacting to him. Because Hasan, that's his brand. Hasan's brand is I'm the fuck boy on the left. I'm the hot guy. And if your brand is I'm the hot guy, you're engaging in objectification. And I'm saying stop doing that. Stop making that your brand. Tone it down. Do something. Stop, you know what I'm saying? Like make a decision because you're putting women in situations where like this will happen. And by the way, no matter what woman goes on that podcast or interacts with Hasan, they'll always be accused of wanting to fuck him. And I'm saying men who fuck the women they collab with, that's why their reputations suck for everybody. Okay? And I'm saying this because there are so many men I respect in this space that there's no way I would have been accused of sleeping with them just because I went on their podcast because that's not their reputation. But when your reputation as a man is that you sleep with all the women you know, then every woman you know will be accused of sleeping with you, even if she hasn't. And I'm saying you need to, if you are on the left, if you are progressive, you need to deconstruct patriarchy and move that out of your dynamic. We all need to move that out of our dynamic as quick as possible.
That instinct to laugh through moments like that. Do you think that maybe throughout the last decade or so, You have seen yourself turn to appealing to the room, not causing a commotion.
Yeah. Yes, and I have like a tendency to cope through humor too. So I'll laugh or I'll make a joke out of it, and I've just always coped through a lot of things with humor and joking and like kind of making myself a bit smaller in the moment.
Same.
So he slides into my DMs.
Guys, I've done that, and I'm me. This aggressive personality you see, I do that with guys. I did that during my Destiny time, and I was like, Brittany. And I was like, you need to unlearn this shit right now. And even people in my life were like, oh my God, girl. And I was like, I need to unpack this. I did this. Me. Do I think this woman's gonna do it? We all have to unlearn our coping mechanisms. I have a mask that says flirt, and because if you can flirt harder than the man, you knock him off his pedestal. And that's what I would do. I learned to flirt with men in a dominant way to take power back in the space, because men were so thrown off guard about me flirting aggressively. They would give me a chance to get ahead, because the truth was is I had no chance if I didn't set my dominance in the space. And that's why I said, okay, this is 2022 was the last year I would do this. It is the last time I'm engaging with it. I'm over it. I'm no longer going to do this. I will find another way to make it clear I belong in this space as a grown-up, as the adult in the room. Okay? So that's why we're changing things here, because I did this. I know this is trained into me. I shouldn't have to do it to survive in this space. I shouldn't have to do it to be seen as an equal. And I shouldn't have to do it to make me feel more safe.
And he's like, are you ever in San Francisco or Austin? I'm like, I'm in Austin a lot, but I'm supposed to be in San Francisco whenever you get back.
Exactly. Chet says one of the purposes of patriarchy is for men to have access to sex. So whenever a progressive man makes that a part of their brand, I side-eye it heavily. Exactly.
Back to Seth about an interview date. Within like 30 seconds, Seth calls me. He's like, Elon just got back.
Oh my God.
Chat says, does Hasan sleep with anybody? He absolutely sleeps with people. He usually sleeps with sex workers because he says they're more professional and they won't tell his stories. He also worked or dated a girl or was engaged or had a relationship with a girl who I think was in sex work. So there's also that criticism of like, is he engaging in ethical sex work, or is he engaging in patriarchal access to sex work? Because some liberal men also engage in sex work with sex workers through a patriarchal lens, but claim that they're not. He's openly talked about this. This is not something I'm just making up. It might be your first time hearing it, but I'm not making it up. And look, there's a conversation to be had about ethical sex work, but does Hasan engage in ethical sex work? Who knows, right? I'm not sure which one of these clips.
Idea that like this is somehow a
I'm not sure. Dating. There was a recent interview I prefer to highlight if I can find it. Oh, it's not coming up for me. But if you know, you know. I'm trying to find a more recent interview, so it's not like I'm taking him out of context from years ago. But he did recently talk to the gentleman. He was talking about, what was it called? Oh, I'm not finding it. Sorry. Well, this is old. These are all old. These are old.
I've noticed that I have a tendency to listen to my partner and not realize that she just wants to vent.
I already knew where you were. This is about regular dating. But yes, Hasan dates. Yes, Hasan's in relationships. Sorry, I can't find the exact clip I'm looking for, but you get the point.
San Francisco on Thursday.
He wanted to fuck you, so you leveraged that to get a fucking interview for Babylon B?
I was a Babylon B employee first, okay? I was a Babylon B employee first. So I was like, let me do a solid for Seth here.
That's crazy.
And I have been working through that. But at the same time, I think the most important conversations are going to happen with women. Mm-hmm. I really do. There was a text that Elon had sent me at one time, and he said, never in human history has there been a successful army composed of women. And I think about that all the time. Mm-hmm. Hasan's stream was fun, and it's funny, and it is what it is. But I think the genuine change is going to come from us.
Yeah, why is that?
None of this would be able to occur if women stopped keeping the secrets of men.
Oof.
And I genuinely believe that, like, especially when I was at places like Mar-a-Lago, and I'm watching the.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like women are accused of sleeping their way to the top, but how is she at the top? Now, she is at the top in some areas. I heavily criticize Ashley St. Clair. I did. And also, when it comes to patriarchy, she'll never be able to sleep her way to the top. She'll only be able to secure a position long enough as she keeps her mouth shut. But the moment she speaks out against men, they will do what they're doing to her, right? So this is why I say she's exactly the white woman. You should be a cautionary tale. White women, you cannot sleep your way to the top. Patriarchy will never protect you. White supremacy will never protect you. Patriarchy will always dominate you. You will never have a position of power under patriarchy. So as long as patriarchy exists, white ladies, they will always throw you under the bus. And I'm saying this as somebody who, I'm telling you right now, it doesn't matter how you engage in this space, because look at Hasan implying she slept her way to the top. Look at Hasan asking about cum napkins. Look at Hasan saying all these things to her. So I'm telling you, don't do this.
These women who are just like extracting what they can from the men without any regard to the other actions of the men. Like, are they paying their employees enough? Like, are their employees unionized? This and that. And the things that they see and they witness that have the power to take this entire thing down, I think more women need to speak up and stop keeping secrets for men, any men.
Have you heard from women?
I agree with this too, which is why when people are like, I can't believe you like are willing to talk that way about people. And I'm like, the amount of men who have told me things, I mean, that's what Destiny did to me, right? To be fair, Destiny and Melina came to me as sort of like, hey, can you help us with our marriage? And I was like, I mean, I get I could try. I don't really know you guys, but I could try, right? I like helping people. It's kind of my thing. And then Destiny goes, oh, I've been having this affair. And I'm like, why, you know, and I'm sitting here like, Melina's already told me. Melina's told me he's cheated. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, did I tell you who it's with? Very casual. He's like, did I tell you who it's with? And I was like, no, I don't know who you're sleeping with. I didn't know. He told me a week before I met him for the first time in Miami. Okay. I was like, who are you sleeping with? I don't know who you're sleeping with. And he goes, it's Lauren Southern. And I'm like, the Nazi? I was like, that white lady who says she's on her journey and she's trying to learn? That lady? And he was like, yeah, I was like, that doesn't make sense. You're a liberal. That's literally what I said. I was like, why are you sleeping with her? I thought you'd be sleeping with another liberal. And he was just like, no, it's Lauren. I was like, Lauren Southern. And I was like, what? I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So then I meet them for the first time. Melina spends the whole weekend begging me to help her understand her marriage and whether or not, like, what to do. Destiny spends the whole weekend being mad that YouTubers on the internet are trying to cancel him for abusing women. And I'm sitting here like, what is this? What is this bubble that I'm in? I'm so confused. And then that was it. I met him once, and a few months later, it was over. I think like 2 months later, like a month later, we were done. Do you know what I'm saying? It was over. And that was it. That was the whole story. And the moment, by the way, I got permission from the women involved. That's the thing. You guys have to understand. The only time I stay silent is honestly for women. Because I have more stories about people, but I can't tell them without the victims becoming in danger. See? Because of patriarchy. I only stay silent for women. I never stay silent for men. So if a girl comes forward, I'm on it. But if a man asks me to keep his secrets, I don't keep men's secrets. So Melina said they were working on their marriage, and I said, okay, girl, I'm not going to tell nobody about this because you said you're working on your marriage. But also, I think you might want to, you know what I mean? And then boom. Okay, so again, I don't keep men's secrets, but it's a really big struggle when a woman's secret is also a man's secret. You know what I'm saying? Chess says, what about the stream with you at Destiny and Abba? That was all the same weekend. I met them all for the first time that weekend. What about it? The same stream where I highlighted, where I'm trying to call Destiny out about stuff because I'm confused about things I'm hearing for the first time that weekend. All these people thought we all knew. All these people who accused me of stuff said, you knew for years, you knew for months. Girlies, we knew for a week. We knew for literally a week. That's how long we knew. I knew a week. That's what I'm saying. The internet thinks it knows what's going on. You have no idea what's happening because in your view of the events, the timeline is completely warped. You know what I mean? People thought I knew Destiny for years. I knew him for 2022. I met him one weekend. That's it. And by the way, that haunts my reputation more than Hasan's. Notice that Hasan is allowed to be removed from Destiny in his association, even though they know each other for longer and collabed and were friends. I knew Destiny for less than a year before he smeared me on the internet, lied about me on the internet, and then sent his community to harass me for 2 years. So just mind you, when we talk about positions of power and patriarchy, I am well aware of my power in this community and how fucking low on the totem pole it is compared to these men who all became millionaires while the rest of us make less than six figures. Okay? So again, okay? Chet said you should say that more. I assumed this was like a long-term relationship. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's very interesting that 1 year out of my life built a reputation on the internet. Then nothing happened. It was always work. It was always professional. You saw most of it on stream. Okay? Most of our interactions literally happened on stream. So you saw it, right? Insane, bro. But if women come forward, I have your back every single time because every single time they're right. Okay? I've yet to have a woman come forward to me that ended up being a liar. All the women who have ever come up to me, even if I didn't believe them at first, they always had receipts. They were always correct. I've never had a woman lie to my face. She always had receipts. She always had. And that's why I will 100% always. People don't lie about being raped, guys. And if they do, they're liars. It's very rare. But they don't lie like their name. I trust people to tell me they were raped the way you tell me your name. Okay?
At Mar-a-Lago and these
I have.
places. And
There's people who are on Fox. There's former Turning Point staffers. There's a lot of women within that movement who they're angry. They're very angry.
behind the scenes.
Yes.
What are the social and emotional risks when deciding whether or not to jump ship?
That's always hard for me to talk about because I've become so jaded by it from being on the internet for so long. I'm like, oh, whatever, like a news cycle dies in 24 hours anyways. I remember the first time like I got canceled or was in a controversy and you get hate and it feels like your world is ending. So like for the average person, it is really catastrophic for them to have their identity attacked like that. But I hope they understand like that storm will pass. Just keep pushing and keep going. And I know what feels like so impossible in the moment and heavy, like it'll pass and you'll get through it, but do the right thing.
Why do you think people find themselves in this ecosystem? What's the hook?
I think they prey on very vulnerable individuals. I think there's a lot of manipulation going on to bring these people in. And I also think it's part of the algorithms. Like the algorithms are maximizing for you.
The algorithms work the way they do too, because they're sending out, they're spending the money. So if the conservatives own the money and they own the tech companies and the tech companies are sending out the videos and conservatives put all their money into publicity, then of course more people are going to see, especially young boys, are going to be thrown into a position of seeing a lot of this conservative content. Here's a great example where I want to go to. And yes, chat says, I only ask because it also applies to me. Do you find your autistic sense of justice makes this whole thing a new level of angering? It makes it a whole new level of why exactly I got to stay balanced, on point, and diligent and consistent. My sense of justice is high, but also I don't want it to be negative. I want to make sure that I'm correct because a sense of justice with bad data is like Elon Musk, right? So you want to have a high sense of justice with good data because, okay. And I want to make sure that I'm not being sort of like disabled by my sense of justice because it can also be a disability, a part of the autistic experience. So I want to make sure that when I show up, I am grounded. I have the data and I have the proof because this era of my life has shown me more than anything that I am really ready to take on that responsibility of being the adult in the room. I mean, I'm almost there. I'm not quite hatched. You know what I'm saying? But I'm warming up. My egg is about to hatch and I'm getting ready. And this is a good example of it because you know, I already know going in, the bets are against me. I already know I'm at a disadvantage. Okay. In every way, I'm at a disadvantage. And yet I think the one advantage I have is that I have data on my side and I have ethics on my side. And that's pretty good. That makes me feel pretty good. So all the other disadvantages just look like opportunities for me to make my point. Now check this out. This is a father who's on the left, explaining to how he's raising his kid who's being targeted by conservatives in the media, especially Manosphere guys. And I think this is interesting.
Algorithm is starting to serve political content to our 13-year-old kid, starting with old Charlie Kirk debates, which are pretty easy to deconstruct when we talk about them because Kirk was such a smarmy bootlicker. But soon enough, given his hovers and clicks, he'll get fed content from left-wing creators, battling each other over Hasan Piker, who and what is a tankie, who is a liberal sheepdog for the Democratic Party, who's a fed or controlled opposition, is Mamdani working miracles or caving to the money, and those will be harder issues to sort out. And they'll be harder to sort out for bad reasons. The speed and intensity of the reactions, the platforms monetizing conflict, conflicts sliding into parasocial drama, and because you can't read the minds of Twitch streamers. But they'll also be hard to sort out for legitimate reasons. For the majority, the core positions are ancient, earnest conflicts. And because when you're losing in late-stage capitalism, your choices really matter. So this is how I plan to talk about it, starting with the legitimate reasons. And FYI, this is compressed. Each concept here might unfold during a meal or an evening walk for ice cream. Point 1. The center of gravity in these zones is the question of whether capitalism can be reformed or must be deconstructed before it kills us all. Where you fall on that question says a lot of complex things about how much you've suffered and at whose hands, about your parents, friends, values, and experiences, your reading, your theory of change, your tolerance for shock versus transition, maybe your attachment styles and deep beliefs about human nature. The moral questions at the heart of all of this is, if you are a reformer, how do you know you're not just kicking the can down the road because you're not suffering enough, or because you're just protecting your status? And on the other side, if you believe reform delays justice, will you stand on that business when reform offers others some relief? We should debate these questions, but we should do it clearly because time is short. So the noise that is less productive or even demoralizing is marked by speed, predatory listening, irony poisoning, and audience capture eliding into campism. It attempts to parse years of streaming logorrhea so that you can defend against cherry-picked clips. It defines people as feds by single posts and erases all of their anti-genocide work. What I want my kid to be able to do is sniff out the raging cul-de-sacs and always look for the place where people may be in disagreement, but they're acting that out in ways that make growth possible. And I don't think online versus IRL is the dividing line, because IRL organizing can be healing or hellish as well. So if you're a content creator in this space, spare a thought for how younger people are watching and learning from your behavior. And ask yourself, what did I need from my elders to assure me the world was workable?
And that's why, as much as I get called naive in the work that I do, I'm just thinking about the Brittany that was suicidal because the world was so evil. And I'm telling her, you better hold on, bitch, because it gets better because you get better. The world is not going to get better. I'm sorry, but you will. Even if the world stays the same, you can change. You can find a way to live in this world. I have no reason to lie to teenage Brittany than to tell her that I promise you the world is going to change and everything's going to be butterflies. But I know you will. You're going to be so happy one day. You're going to be so fulfilled. You're going to be so grounded. And the world will stay the same, but it's going to be worth staying alive in a world that never changes. Because that's really what we're facing here. You know, trans people, autistic people, everything that I am, we have one of the highest statistical suicide rates. And I'm sitting here a testament to something I did right. Something I did was right along the way. Someone I learned from was the right person. Some book I read was the right book. Some video I watched was the right video. Something along the way gave me enough information to say, okay, I'm not going to kill myself because of patriarchy or fucking white men or any of this fucking bullshit. But I will make it clear that as long as I am alive, I am not going to stop pointing out all of the flaws of the system that put young kids in a position to have to take their life because the adults in the room aren't doing the work. Because that's what we're doing. We are killing young people and then blaming groups of people instead of the responsibility we had as parents and counselors and priests and all these other things to guide those kids into a better future. And we didn't do it. It's us. You know? It really is the adults in the room, and none of us, I think, are stepping up to fill that role, myself included. So I'm going to work on it. I'm not going to be perfect, you know, and I'm going to figure it out. And that's my life's purpose. My life's purpose is philosophy, is giving people tools to ground themselves, is saying, don't give up because the world sucks, you know, keep moving forward. And that there's a lot of humility to be found in the fact that like we are just living history and this is it. Like you're alive. People will mention you in school books one day, not by name, but by population sizes, by statistics and demographics. But you existed and you're real and you're important and you matter. But a lot of the work that we do, it is kind of a cope. But sometimes it's like a really necessary one. And then sometimes the work is really, really good and really meaningful and not at all a cope. And that's what we wait for. We wait for the video we really made that meant something, the piece of music we wrote that really moved people, the poetry that really got people through a funeral, the speech that moved a population. You know, we're going to make a lot of really bad content. But when the right one hits, that's it. Okay? We're going to make a series of bad decisions, but when you make the right one, that's what we're looking for. Okay, guys? So again, when we have these conversations, I always want to center children. And I'm always thinking about me as a kid. And I was a very specific kind of kid, let me tell you. And you know, I think a lot of you are probably similar. But she's not going to be convinced by empty promises made by adults when she knows better. She watches adults. She knows you guys are all fucking lying. So it's not going to be enough for her. And I'm going to have to be the one adult who doesn't lie to her. Because those adults in my life who didn't lie to me, they kept me from killing myself. Because they said it like it was, including my therapist, who said, no wonder you want to kill yourself. Your life is really hard. Now let's figure out a way to make your life better so you don't have to kill yourself. And I said, okay, based. Yeah, let's do that. Thanks, bro. She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And she did. She acknowledged my pain, acknowledged that it was quite reasonable to want to die. I mean, look at the state of the world. And then she gave me the tools to fix my mental health, to center myself in a world that was so fucked up. Because a lot of the therapy that I did with my therapist was about the weight of the pressure of the world. Like, I don't get it. What's the point of existing? Give me one good reason to stay alive when the world is so horrible. And the truth is that's where philosophy came in. Who was I? This is where humility comes in, to think that my suffering was unique. And who was I to not acknowledge that my suffering was personal? It might not be unique, but it's personal. But since it's not unique, I bet I can get through this. I bet with the right tools and the right framing, I actually could just accept that I'm a biological creature existing in this one pocket of time. And I can value how personal my pain is and make sure at the same time that I don't make it the center of the universe. Because I'm certainly not the center of the universe. And that's where we add in humility, you know, self-awareness, wisdom, and love and compassion. To suffer with, and to remain focused on the future by living in the most present. So right now, today, with every meal that I eat, it will be plant-based. Every day that I exist, today, right now, I will get on stream and do my best to stay focused. When I go to sleep tonight, I'll make sure to remember to kiss my partner. Maybe text my siblings a meme. Because all I can do right now is exist right now in this moment. And that's it. I have the most control over this second, right now. And as long as I stay in the most present, I will absolutely be a little less bad every day. And so I will then be the person that I was always meant to be. The person existing in this very moment. You know, I know it kind of seems so easy, but it's really not, you know. It seems like really simple, but it's really hard. All of these boys who are yelling at me at the internet, saying, Brittany, we can't just be peaceful. We can't just be loving. We can't be less violent. There's all these horrible things happening in the world. I know, because you're angry at the world and not for the world. And because you're angry at the world, you're going to commit a genocide and you're going to shoot up a school. But there are those of us who are angry for the world. So we're going to be peaceful. We're going to live in the moment. We're going to do less harm and we're going to feed our neighborhood. And then we're all going to die. And that will be it. You know, when I die, I don't want to say I regret committing so much harm. When I die, I'll say I'll regret not having enough time on earth to create, like to commit less, you know? Like I want my regret on my deathbed to be that I didn't live long enough to feed more people. And that's what I kind of focus on.